I have moved here from today, so you guys need to leave. One day, suddenly, my stepsister, Kate, burst into the house where we lived and said, "So, I have been covering all the payments for the house mortgage." However, when confronted with Kate's sudden demand, I calmly replied, "Understood, let's do that," and informed her about the remaining mortgage balance. Kate's face turned pale upon hearing this. "I am David Baker. I live with my wife Maria and my in-laws. After getting married, we decided to live with Maria's parents and built a duplex for that purpose. For some reason, I ended up shouldering the entire mortgage for the house, even though I had doubts about this situation. Considering my relationship with my in-laws, I couldn't say anything. The reason I ended up paying the entire mortgage was due to a remark made by Kate. Originally, the plan was for my father-in-law and me to split the mortgage payments. However, upon hearing this, Kate argued, "Isn't it strange to make aging parents pay the mortgage? Besides, didn't Mom and Dad pay most of the down payment?" Although Maria argued against this, I, her husband, couldn't say a word. As a result, we ended up following Kate's suggestion, paying the entire mortgage. The monthly payment, which was supposed to be $1,000, doubled to $2,000. Despite all this, we were living peacefully as a family until one day, "We're going to live here. We've decided to live with our parents, so you need to leave. We'll pay the $1,000 mortgage," Kate suddenly declared. Taken aback by this sudden development, I replied, "Is that so? Well, the house still has a $600,000 mortgage remaining. There won't be any retirement pay either, so good luck with the payments, right, Dad?" "Kate, actually, that's true. It's impossible not to get retirement pay." Kate was shocked to learn that she would now have to shoulder a substantial mortgage. "Wait, but this is a big house. Shouldn't paying just $11,000 per month be enough?" "No, that's not possible. I've always been paying $22,000 per month." "What? But wasn't Dad supposed to pay for this house? There's no way he would make his beloved daughter bear the entire mortgage, right?" "Right, I'm retiring soon. It will be difficult to pay from now on." "Wait, that's not what we agreed on." "Oh, right. You can continue to pay the mortgage as usual. That way, we can live here." Being asked to continue paying the mortgage even though we're being kicked out, even though I couldn't understand her logic. Then, Maria stood up and started arguing. "Wait, Kate, how can you suddenly come here and tell us to leave? I can't believe it." "It's okay, Maria, we should leave. Let Kate handle the mortgage payments. After all, it was tough for me alone to pay that amount," I calmly reasoned with Maria. Hearing this, Kate frantically tried to stop us. "Wait, I didn't say I would take over the mortgage." Despite Kate's screams, we ignored her and began preparing to leave the house. "Are you planning to run away without paying the mortgage you signed for? I won't pay the mortgage for a house I don't live in." "After all, Kate, you were the one who initially said to make me pay the mortgage, right? It's strange to make the elderly father-in-law pay, isn't it? It's only natural since we live together, even though we're not family." "Not even family? Are you saying I'm not family?" Shocked by Kate's words, I couldn't help but ask her back, "Isn't that obvious? You're just a stranger who married my sister. I've never thought of you as family. Yet, you lived in this house, so it's only natural that you pay the mortgage. It seems she considers me a complete stranger. Is that so? Well, if I'm not family, I don't need to live in this house anymore, so I don't need to keep paying the mortgage, right? That's a different matter." "I'm sorry, but I don't understand what you're saying, Kate, because Dad is retiring next month, and we thought he would get a lot of retirement money. That's why we decided to move in. We thought the retirement money would make the monthly repayments lighter. That's why it's different from my plan. Your reliance on father-in-law's retirement money for moving in has nothing to do with me. Since you said you would pay the future mortgage, we'll be leaving." "I didn't say I pay. I thought it was just a payment of $1,000 per month. And now you're leaving. Why didn't you tell me earlier that there was no retirement money? Were you hiding it from me? Talking about father-in-law's retirement money isn't something I should bring up. If necessary, he would have discussed it beforehand. Hiding it wasn't something for me to discuss in the first place. I have an idea. You could just leave here and send me money every month. Then there would be no problem." "Wait a minute. There's no need for that. After all, you're the one who took out the mortgage. It's natural for you to pay it back, isn't it? Kate is endlessly greedy when it comes to money. I had heard a bit about it from Maria, but I never imagined it was to this extent. If we were to continue living here, of course, it would be natural for us to pay the mortgage. But there's no need to pay if we're leaving. Wait, why are you so arrogant? Understand your place. Of course, I understand my position. Then why can you say such things? It's unforgivable that you all hid from me about the absence of retirement money. Then the father-in-law spoke up. Kate always makes a fuss about money, so I didn't tell her. I knew she would start nagging like this if it came to money matters. Even her own father, the father-in-law, seemed troubled by Kate's obsession with money. That's why he hadn't discussed retirement money at all. You talk about money, but there's no money anywhere, right? Because there's no retirement pay, right? So where is the money? Do you have savings? That's why I thought there was no need to tell Kate anything. Why won't you tell me anything? There's no way I can pay a $600,000 mortgage. Then how about we call off living together? If that's the case, please leave this house. Why can you take such an attitude? I've already moved here. I've left my previous house and can't go back. But I have no intention of paying such a huge mortgage. That just sounds like your whim, Kate. You don't want to pay the mortgage but want to live in this house, right? Yes, because I am family. It's only natural for us to live together. What's wrong with that? What's wrong? Everything you're saying is strange. How about living here for $1,000 a month? Then, if you agree to that, I might consider helping with the mortgage repayment. What's with that condescending attitude? Keep paying the mortgages you have been. If that's not possible, then find a house for me to live in. Should I need to do such a thing? If it comes to this, maybe it's better for you, Kate, to leave this house. But I have nowhere to go if I leave here. Don't make me repeat the same thing. We are going to leave, so if you can pay $1,000 per month, you can stay here for a while. We will go to my parents' house, so please leave as soon as you find a place. Why do I have to look for another place to live when you guys are leaving? It's fine if you guys just leave. So you're saying you will pay the entire mortgage for this house from now on? I already told you that's impossible. Fine, I'll leave when I find a house. You're going to pay for the moving cost, right? Why should that be the case? Please take care of that yourself. My plans are all messed up now. I wish we could have discussed such an important matter properly. I almost ended up bearing a huge mortgage. Subsequently, Kate agreed to live with the in-laws for a while, paying $1,000 per month. David, why do we have to leave? This is so unfair. But it's tough living with Kate, and she agreed to pay while living here. I think my parents will let us stay for about 2 months. Poor sister staying at your husband's parents' house must be uncomfortable and difficult, right? You can stay in this house if it's just you. Why are you so arrogant? Living with David's parents is much better than staying with a sister like you. Maria couldn't contain her anger at Kate's selfish attitude. However, it seemed her words didn't reach Kate. What? I'm just offering a suggestion, sister. Are you brainwashed by him too? $1,000 a month, huh? Well, I was planning to pay that from the start, so it's fine. Look, if you say anything more bad about Maria, I'll increase the amount you need to repay. What's with you suddenly raising the price? That's just extortion. I don't even want to talk anymore. Just pack your things and leave. Though we were dissatisfied with having to leave, there was a part of us that thought it was inevitable. If we had nowhere else to go, and if it meant living with Kate, leaving seemed like the better option. Then please send $1,000 every month to my parents' house. You can also transfer it directly to the bank account. Why do I have to go through such trouble? I can just give it directly to my dad. Weren't you the one who said that all the mortgage payments should be made by me? So the mortgage is set to be deducted from my account, right? I remember now, but transferring money every month is a hassle and costs fees. Oh, that's right. The mortgage will continue to be automatically deducted from your account even after you leave, right? So I don't have to pay anything? Huh, that's great. Then leave quickly. Kate said something outrageous with a smile. Does she even understand what she's saying? What? You don't plan to pay? You said you would pay $1,000 earlier, didn't you? Did I say that? Did I sign a contract or something? Do you have any proof? If that's settled, I plan to live here from now on, so please take care of the mortgage payments. Kate spoke hotly. She's out of her mind. She was blatantly planning to evade the mortgage payments. Why didn't I realize this sooner? The deduction is originally from your account, so I don't need to pay anything. I was about to lose $1,000 every month. Wait, that's not what we agreed on. What's different? Living in such a big house for free, there's nothing like here than that. Trying to make your sister-in-law pee, you're such a terrible man. I can't believe my sister married someone like you. I can't believe how absurd she is. I was completely stunned by the shock of it. Then suddenly the father-in-law raised his voice. Kate, what are you saying? David is a wonderful person. He agreed to take on the mortgage all by himself without any complaint. I'm truly grateful to you, David. Thank you. Thank you, Father. I hope we can live together again someday. What's this? You two are so creepy. Do you think you've become a real father and child or something? And you continue to pay the mortgage while living in a different house? What a pitiful person, Kate. Enough is enough. Watch how you speak. Why do I have to be nice to this guy? He's just a stranger after all. If you just listen, it's nothing but selfish talk. How can you behave like this towards such an honest person? Dad, you've lost it. What's so honest about him? He's trying to make me pay money. Then the father-in-law began to speak quietly. Staying silent won't do any good anymore. Actually, the retirement pay will come as planned. What do you mean? That's different from what you said earlier. Once the retirement pay comes in, I will pay off the mortgage for this house. We plan to use our savings and the retirement money to pay it off in full. That's what I promised, David. You said earlier there was no retirement pay. So you all deceived me? That's too much. Hearing the truth from her father, Kate started to act as if she was the victim. At that moment, the mother-in-law, who had been listening silently, spoke up. Actually, I was the one who told Kate to keep quiet about it. Your father, David, and Maria, none of them did anything wrong. The mother-in-law began to explain the situation. When we were building this house, you wouldn't listen and insisted that David should pay the entire mortgage. No one else agreed with you then, but David didn't complain and willingly signed the contract because he was living with this. So, when your father's retirement was approaching, I suggested that we tell Kate there was no retirement money. What do you mean? Why did you hide the retirement money from me? Your mother told us that you would probably try to do something with your father's retirement money. Also, during the time I was repaying the mortgage, your father gave me money every month. He said I never intended to burden you alone, but I was so happy that you signed the contract without any complaints. What's that? If you're going to give money to someone who's not even family, you should give it to me, your real daughter. What a waste. You are really the worst. I never thought you would tell David and Maria to leave at this time, as your father's retirement is approaching, and you wanted to make David pay all the mortgage. What kind of nerve is that? I had never seen the mother-in-law speak in such a harsh tone before. Kate's behavior must have been that intolerable. However, Kate seemed not to care at all, even seeing her mother like this. So what if there's a way to live in such a big house for free? Anyone would do it. Besides, Dad worked hard for so long to raise his cute daughter, right? I should be thanked if anything, Kate retorted defiantly. Yes, you were so cute when you were little, and I worked hard thinking it was all for you. I never thought you'd become such a terrible person, the mother-in-law lamented. What? It's unmistakably you and Mom who raised me this way, Kate protested. Kate, I can no longer think of you as my daughter. Someone who can only say such unreasonable things is not my daughter anymore, her father-in-law declared. Kate seemed confused by her father's unexpected words. What do you mean? What are you saying? You are no longer allowed to live in this house, the father-in-law said, looking straight into Kate's eyes. His resolve seemed firm. Seeing this, Kate finally started to panic. Wait, what are you saying? I've already moved here. What are we supposed to do now? That's for you to figure out. If necessary, find a hotel. If you don't have money, you'll have to sleep outside. Just take your things and leave right now. David and Maria will continue to live in this house as usual. This house belongs to them. Saying this, the father-in-law began to move Kate's belongings outside the house. Wait a minute. Are you really going to abandon your own daughter and let a stranger live here? We don't have much money. It's because you said such terrible things about letting me pay the mortgage while only you live here, father-in-law. Thank you for being on our side. I'll help with the luggage, David intervened. Stop it. The conversation isn't over yet. The conversation is over. There's nothing more to talk about with you. The father-in-law was cold and unchanging in his demeanor towards Kate. Kate seemed to finally realize the situation she was in. Okay, I get it. I'll do it myself. So stop messing with my luggage, Kate. I'll help you with your luggage. How about living at your husband's parents' house? What are you talking about? You're the worst. Living at my husband's parents' house is uncomfortable, and I don't want to. I hate having to be considerate. So you are considerate. That's surprising. I couldn't help but respond sarcastically to Kate's words. What? Stop it right now. As Kate yelled, she tried to hit me. Thankfully, the father-in-law and mother-in-law stopped her. Hey, Kate, if you hit someone, that's a real crime. I'll call the police. But he said terrible things to me. It can't be helped. Your attitude is terrible. Why are you so obsessed with money? Because you can't live without money, right? Sure, money is necessary, but you've always been too reckless with it. That's why you always get into financial troubles. I'm sick of you relying on our money, the father-in-law spoke sternly to Kate. Kate has always been like that since she was little. She frequently took money from my piggy bank and even stole my New Year's gift money, Maria added. Right, so what? I just used the money you weren't using. Money should be put to use, or it's a pity. But that was my money. You never returned it despite how much I asked. I still want it back. Hearing Maria's words, Kate laughed and retorted, I don't remember such old things. It's just childhood stuff. Not a big deal. You're so petty about such small things. You haven't changed at all since then. LOL. Suddenly, Kate's husband joined the conversation. Kate, I've been patient until now, but I've reached my limit. You've troubled your parents, been rude to your sister, and your words to your brother-in-law are too harsh. Your reckless spending has always been a problem for me too. What? You've always been quiet, and now this? You've never complained about my spending. The money I use is what you earn, isn't it? Because your earnings are low. That we run out of money. Don't you think about earning more? I'm tired of your attitude. It's not because of my earnings that we have no money. It's because of your wasteful habits. Wasteful habits? If it makes me happy, any way of spending is fine. Do whatever you want. I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I've decided I want a divorce. He must have been enduring a lot until now. After an argument, Kate's husband finally brought up divorce. This divorce? Why are you suddenly talking about this? It's not sudden. I've been thinking about it for a long time. Kate seemed fled by her husband's unexpected words. Wait, what should I do now? I'm going back to my parents' house. I always hoped you'd change, but it was useless. Today made it clear that you will never change. I'll send the divorce papers. Kate's husband began to silently pack his belongings. Wait, where should I go? I thought I could live in this house without spending money. What am I supposed to do now? You're all really the worst. Even at this point, Kate began to make a scene, acting as if she was the victim. Meanwhile, her husband remained calm. What you decide to do is up to you, he said. Father, Mother, I truly appreciate all the help you've given me. Thank you, she said tearfully. Brother and sister, I'll be leaving now, she announced softly. With those words, he left the house. Your husband has left, Kate? Do you realize that your behavior has led to this? It's your own doing, her mother-in-law scolded. What are you talking about? It's all your fault. You schemed behind my back with my parents, putting me through this. If you had just quietly left, everything would have been fine, Kate retaliated. Is that so? But in the end, it's you who has to leave. Abandoned by your husband, disowned by your father and mother. If my sister hadn't married someone like you, none of this would have happened. Kate was losing her composure, shouting loudly. Even now, she still insisted that she was not to blame. It seemed impossible to reach an understanding with her. Watching Kate, the father-in-law said quietly, Kate, it's time to admit it. The original problem was you. It's not David's fault. Even your father says so. Kate, you should reflect on your past actions. What? All of you, really? The worst. With that, Kate lost everything. Her home, her husband, her family, any belongings. You can't take them now. I'll send them later. Where should I send them? Ignoring my words, Kate laughed, trembling with anger. I later heard that Kate was living a poor life, alone. She still hadn't cured her habit of overspending, constantly buying what she wanted and repeatedly getting into debt. As for us, We continue to live a happy life with our in-laws as before. A while after that incident, we had a child. With no worries about rent, we've been able to save for our child's education. I'm truly grateful for our current situation.
All right, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick? Is something wrong? Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my 2nd year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, I'm thirsty. Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children. With zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job. Having joined the company wanting to do customer service. I don't care what they say, I plan to quit anytime, he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look. To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day. Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. So, you all get a chance. As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them. It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. All right, everyone's presentations are done. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me. There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. Still here? Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. I'm leaving. I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! What's wrong? Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, I'm very sorry. Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, get his boss here immediately. It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. What is that idiot doing? All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next. Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you. I obediently followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was, as the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize. Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. What kind of training are you giving your subordinates? Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed. I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry. Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong. Mike, what have you done? Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. I didn't do anything wrong. You're still saying that? Look at him. Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract? Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go. Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker and to take good care of him. There's no way he was pushed aside. Don't make things worse here. He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he? I don't remember that part. I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.